welcome back to SlydeBytes. A little bit of a swampy slide guitar bluesy intro there on the Squier Affinity Telecaster, which is where I'm going to be discussing the second video. So this guitar I picked up 10 years ago. This is an Infinity Series Squier Telecaster in Butterscotch Blonde, which is really probably one of my favorite finishes on the Telecaster. This is really where it all started off with the solid body electric guitar. You can look into the history of that with Leo Fender and his original guitar, which I believe was the Broadcaster, which became the Telecaster over time. Anyway, pretty much this same setup, 2 single coil pickups, which this is one of those times where I absolutely love the rhythm pickup, this lipstick tube pickup here. I just... Of course, for the intro, we were in the middle position because I like the grit that I get from the lead pickup. This is a very warm pickup on a budget guitar, and it drives everything that I use very well. We're running this guitar through a Boss DS1 distortion pedal, through a Boss CE2 chorus pedal, which is not a Waza, is one of the Japanese originals. This is also running through the Behringer Ultra Vibrato pedal, which is an excellent value for what it is. You can almost get those to sound like a rotary speaker in that, and those are all going through the front panel of my acoustic Lead Series G120D SP 2x12 amplifier solid state. On the clean channel, I think that is just a great bluesy setup, and this guitar just rocks the blues, if that makes sense. I really am getting into bluesy slide guitar myself, and I think this is probably my favorite electric for playing that type of style, closely paralleled or tied by my Squier Stratocaster. Either one I can really pull off some cool bluesy tones on, which makes sense because there's been a lot of famous blues players using both those types of guitars. Anyway, this guitar has been great, no electrical issues whatsoever. Did have a knob fall off, which you actually tighten those back on using a little Allen wrench. Finish was impeccable. The biggest problem with this guitar, with its 21 frets on its maple neck, which is very smooth in that Fender classic C shape, where the frets were kind of sharp, which I filed them down, no big deal. But if you're going to be looking at Squier, I do typically recommend getting your hands on the guitar first, because you may have to do some of that. This thing has been through several sets of strings now. Right now, I believe I'm running Ernie Ball regular slinky strings, which I like quite a bit. So this is in double drop D. And this is really a great guitar for, both the beginner or for the hobbyist like myself. The Affinity Series is kind of a mid-level entry in the Squier range. The Bullet is probably their lower edge of their line, and I think the Classic Vibe, and I think they have the Contemporary are their more updated, more expensive models. Well, I should say updated loosely. Classic Vibe is actually a nod to some of the older styles and older tech that was used in those guitars. Anyway, tuning stability has been really good. I don't really go too crazy with this guitar. It stays in double drop D, which is good for me for playing ambient, folk, blues, and some harder southern rock, which is really what these guitars are excellent at. They do a jangly, nice sound on them. That lead pickup again can get really hot. In fact, I can demonstrate that just a little bit here. Turn my volume back up. We're just running through a Boss DS1 with the distortion turned down a little bit, and the tone probably, I'd say, about 10 o'clock. And I still got my other pedals on, so... But you kind of get the idea. It's a little bit brighter, a little bit hotter. For what I do with this guitar, I typically sit in the middle or on the neck, unless I'm really wanting to do some harder rock stuff. And I tend to find it has a little bit of probably a high end, if not a mid-range bite that sometimes I like to try to cut a little bit by running on the middle or in the neck position. There's really nothing I dislike about the Telecasters. Some people don't like the 21 frets on a lot of the Squiers, or I'm not sure if all the Fenders are 22 or 21 at this point, but personally, I don't have a problem with it. I do a lot of lead and rhythm guitar playing for my own, and obviously slide and things like that, and it's not really been an issue. I'm used to it enough to playing things like acoustic that it just does not bother me to have 21 frets. I'm not up this far typically, especially for this kind of music. Not that you can't, and there's nothing wrong with it if you do want something else for that. But for what I do, this has been excellent. The bridge. So this isn't a string through body. It is a string through bridge, though. It goes right through there. It's still very jangly. Still sustains pretty well. The neck is, again, that classic C shape from Fender, and all maple. Everything's maple in this neck, fretboard, everything. It's honestly a very fast, slick neck. I like this guitar a lot for playing some bluesy lead licks. It's hard to beat the Affinity range, in my opinion. If you're a collector just wanting the shape, which is kind of where I was at this until I really got into more of the slide playing, more of the bluesy stuff. It's hard to beat the price unless you're gonna go. If you're gonna go with something off of like Amazon or some of the other more knockoff range guitars, you just kind of play that game of you don't know exactly what you're gonna get. With Squier, you at least know it's still a Fender company, Fender brand that even says by Fender underneath there on the headstock. And actually the newer ones with the skunk stripe down the neck even say designed and backed by Fender or something like that. It's hard to beat Squier. They're great guitars. This finish has been flawless. This is 10 years old and it just keeps running. And the Affinity line, if you want something a little bit, I think some of the bullets are a little thinner in the body than the Affinity range. I could have that backwards, but I think that's how it works. If you want something that's pretty close to the Fender specs, but not nearly the price, and you really don't want to pay that much for Classic Vibe, maybe you don't like the finish on the Classic Vibe neck or whatever, and you want just this pickup configuration, you want something that looks historical, this is a good place to go, a good place to start for the guitar. I really like it. I really can't recommend this more than what I am right now. If you're just wanting something like this for that type of playing, and I could gig with this and have no problem with it. I would have no issue if someone handed me, especially Squier, that I'd set up myself. And that's one thing with Squier. If you don't have hands on it, be prepared to investigate it and look through it. And that's one of those cons of having lower priced guitar, and something that you will have to be ready for if you ordered it online and didn't get to touch it first, which I am waiting on when to show up. I guess I will have to do the same thing, go through it and adjust and do what I need to. This one needs some fret work and some new strings, but honestly it's maintained tune, all the electronics work, the knob, I just tightened it back down, stays on. Everything on this guitar has been good. Input doesn't come loose or fall out. It's a good guitar. It sounds exactly like any other Telecaster. I've played played both Fender and Squier Telecasters many times, and I keep coming back to this one just because it does everything I needed to do in the price range that I had, especially at the time. And 10 years is a heck of a long time, and some people feel like a lot of these guitars you don't get that longevity, but this one certainly has. So yeah, hard to beat the Squier Affinities. You can definitely find all their body shapes. Probably, I think they make every body shape in the Bullet and Affinity style too, so you can pretty much find any of them. Again, the Bullet is more the lowest range. I think the Affinity is next, and Squier is contemporary, or maybe the Classic Vibe is next. I don't remember which one's next on that scale. But anyway, these guitars are great. Definitely pick one up if you're interested in it, and get your hands on it and see if it's something you could work with. And if you're willing to put the work into a Squier, often they are great guitars that will last you many years of playing. So on that note, she sounds good. I don't have a whole lot else to tell you about it. I've rambled on long enough about her. You all have a good one. See you in the next video. Bye.